Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Silver Suggests. Today we will be covering Paladins, and some of you may be familiar with this as we've been streaming it a lot. I do stream live on Twitch every Monday, Tuesday, and Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's twitch.tv/silverdeath_gaming. You can catch all my information down in the details below, and make sure you hit a follow on Twitch, Twitter. And there's always a post that goes out whenever I do go live as well. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and hit that bell for notifications. So let's get right into it, guys. So as you might know, with the Silver Suggests, we do a pros, a cons, and what my verdict is in the end. So for our pros, we're going to start off with number one. It is a first-person shooter MOBA, which is almost identical to Overwatch. If you guys have watched much of the Overwatch gameplay and such, it plays very, very similar, and a lot of the characters look and act very similar as well. So you'll get some familiarity with that, and it'll be pretty easy to pick up if you have ever played Overwatch before. If you've played any MOBA, it kind of plays in amongst that thing, in amongst that style, as you have tanks, you have fighters or damage guys, you have guys that are your flankers, the ones you kind of just want to get in there and take out an enemy teammate real quick, and you also have your healers to support. So you're going to be very familiar with the style of gameplay if you've ever played a MOBA before, and it's not a bad MOBA to start off with, as it is the next thing. Number two, it is free to play. There is actually no cost to play, and if you put a good amount of time into it, and I don't mean like you have to put all of your life and soul into it, but if you put a couple days a week into it, or in a couple hours, it doesn't even have to be an entire day, obviously, you can earn enough gold, which is how you buy your characters, to buy whatever characters you want. And obviously you don't need to buy all of the characters, but you could. If you're playing it enough, you could absolutely earn enough gold to do so. So with that going on, there is an option to pay for all of the characters, basically, from now till ever, and that's a $29.99, I do believe, is the current cost, and it's not a bad price to consider unlocking all of the characters right away, especially if you're trying to be more competitive and want to immediately be able to access all the characters and choose which ones work well for you. So moving on, number three in our pros section is we have the customization of the characters, and it is rather detailed in what you can do. Now, I'm not just talking about the skins, because games like these, that's a big thing, is having skins available, and there are skins that you can purchase for your characters. Most of the time, though, you're actually purchasing like a loot box and hoping to unlock certain skins, which, that kind of randomness is a little bit frustrating, but it's, it is a way for them to get you to purchase more loot boxes or to play more of the game, log in more often to get those benefits. But there are also some free skins if you have Twitch Prime, or if you also are dealing with Mixer and watching the Paladins station on Mixer, you can get some free skins. But there are purchasable skins, and obviously that's all skins. That's not what my main focus is whenever I'm saying customization. What I'm talking about with customization is you have a couple options when you're selecting. There's what are basically cards for your character. You have a total of 15 points that you can put over 5 different cards. I have to select 5 cards. You can't just shove all your points into one certain ability, but there will be 4 different sections that have 4 different cards. 4? Might be 5. I forget. I don't have it right in front of me, but it's a series of cards, and each card gives you some kind of benefit for each different style of ability and things. So you can really customize as to how you want your character, and there are a lot of characters, how you want your character to play. And so you can make your character more offensive, you can make your character more tanky, whatever works for your play style. And that's really good. That's something you'll want to actually investigate and look into whenever you're playing, to determine as to what your build is going to be. Now, you'll find many builds online as to what they would suggest, but in all honesty, I recommend tinkering with it and finding out how you feel most comfortable with your character builds, because that way you'll know it the best. So, and in addition to that, once you get into game, there are 3 different choices that you can make for each character, which is an additional bonus or change to the character, which you can make that to work really well with what you already picked in your cards. So there's a lot of different ways that you can set that up. You can make your healer do a lot more damage by doing things like that too. Like things like, that's what you're looking for with your customization, and that's something that I do not believe, if I remember correctly, it's been a while since I played Overwatch, but I don't think that's something that Overwatch had. I'm pretty sure they didn't have that. Now, something that Overwatch does have that also translates to here is number 4 in the pros, and that is ranked play. We do have ranked play available. You do have to be level 15, if I am correct, to get to that. So you do have to play some non-ranked matches a good bit to get used to the game and actually build up a character base before you can actually go in and play ranked matches and select characters through that. And basically build up a ranking. Ranked play is more difficult in general. To start off with, you're going to have to play with completely random people. You can't take more than one teammate with you, whereas in regular play you can take an entire team of 5 in to start off with. But once you are ranked, as I understand it, you can at that point play with a full team of ranked players, and so you get past your preliminaries and it's not as bad. If I'm wrong on that and you can only go with one friend, it's ranked play sees some serious decline at that point. Alright, so moving on, I wanted to head into our cons for this. So if you guys have ever played League of Legends, you probably know about how great a community that is. I can't say it with a serious face. That community is completely toxic, and it seems to transfer over. I don't know if it's with every MOBA, but it definitely transfers to this. And there is an extreme amount of toxicity. I've received hate mail from other players, and I'm not even trying to be that competitive. Like, I want to be competitive. I'm trying to win, but I haven't gotten there's not a camaraderie amongst you and your team, you and your teammates, and sometimes definitely you and your enemies. So there's not an issue. Those people are always against you, but you and your teammates will sometimes clash also. And it's in League that was always a case. You always had a clashing of teammates, and there was always a blame train as to okay, we gotta say, okay, it's the healer's fault, or no, our flanker didn't gank whenever he needed to. Our DPS wasn't doing anything. Our tank didn't do his job. It's always a blame train, and you never can blame yourself when it comes to it. And it seems like that is the case. I don't know if it's with every MOBA, but I get the feeling it might be. It really seems like that is the case, and that's just unacceptable. That's not something. There's nothing to help build the community up in that regard. So unless you're playing with people I would strongly suggest muting your team, because you're not going to want to hear what they have to say. But it's just toxicity constantly, and it's not that. That's a big downer in my mind whenever you come to a MOBA like this, and any MOBA really. If my experience is Overwatch, League, and this. I haven't really played too many others. I've touched upon it, but nothing to the degree. I played Heroes of the Storm for a while, so that was a little bit more friendly out of all, but you still had some toxicity at some points. But moving on, let's not dwell upon the rage that much. I would say that the balancing is not up to par. It's very skewed. You have a couple characters that absolutely stand out as the absolute 100% best characters, which in ranked you would want to be banning almost every single time. And I guess that happens with everything. There's always a tier list, and it changes from time to time as they do different balancing changes and whatnot. But there's some characters that are just the one character, Skye, which is really, really good, has been in the game since the beginning, and she's still broken. It's so hard to deal with her. It's a lot easier just for a team to ban her than to have to try and deal with her on the opposing team. So there's also characters that just nobody plays because they're just not good enough. damage characters who, seem like they're really nice that you start off with, and they just don't compare to other damage characters. There's some that they've nerfed completely and they're not worth it anymore. So it's really hard to look at something in this spectrum and say that it is balanced, because the balancing, you can only get to a point where there's a clear-cut set of good characters and some that are just not good enough, but people still like to play them, and this is still too far out of that range. Like whenever they've done their balancing, it's just I think the nerfs have been too hard and the strengths have been too over exaggerated. Their current guy which is Tiberius, the tiger, he's a Tigran. He's absolutely insane, but he's not getting banned and most times, and so he kind of just runs away with you because he does so much damage and he has a good movement and everything too. So you have to consider things like that, and you always want to make a character that looks really intriguing. You don't want to put out a character whenever you're designing a game like this. You don't want to put out a character that's not interesting. But if you put out a character that is just absolutely annihilates the opposition, it's not good either, because then there's always going to be one on every team whenever you're playing regular, and whenever you're playing ranked, it becomes somebody that they just ban anyway, and you never actually see that guy in play because you have to ban him. Like, it's 100% ban. So they need to work on their balancing a little bit with that. Lastly, I'd like to get to about the tournaments. Obviously, I said there is ranked play, so I mean that in itself implies that people are going to be trying to get better at this game to then send that into whatever the next step is. So tournament play is that next step, but the tournament play is just not there. I guess the interest in the game might not be as high as what is required or to fund a bigger tournament. It's really weird. Like whenever you come to tournament play, you have to make it available that almost anybody can make it in. But it seems that they just select a series of teams, and I guess there are qualifiers. But when it comes down to the last year for the World Championship, like the absolute pinnacle of what you can achieve in Paladins, first place prize was $100,000 to the team. So for the first place team, the best team in the world of Paladins, they got $100,000. So a 5-person team, assuming they didn't give any of the money to managers, which we know that's not true, they got $20,000 each. That is absolutely atrocious. Like, you cannot have a prize pool that small and expect people to play competitively to really go for it. Like, $100,000 sounds really good, and it is good. Like, $100,000 is not a small amount of money, but for the amount of time and effort that you have to put in for it, to make $20,000, I mean, and that's first place. That's just first place. If you're looking a little bit farther, like the 5th through 8th, that's just for showing up. They got $25,000 for their team. $25,000 is $5,000 per person. So that's not enough money to live on for a year. Not even close. So like you're talking, you have to have some amount of sponsorship or something else. Basically, the tournament scene is just not really worth it. It's good that they still have people going for it. That's absolutely fabulous. But it's not worth it to really try to get on that tournament scene. I could never see dedicating that much time into playing at a professional level on this, because the pros, quote unquote, like your best expectance is to make $20,000 for the World Championship. It's just not good enough. So that brings us to our verdict. What is our final view on Paladins? Paladins is, in my opinion, very fun to play for a while, but it can easily get to the point where it is annoying. So I'd say in short spurts, it's a yes. In the long term, it's a no. Like this is a game you go back to hang out with your friends for a little while, play some games, and then go on to something else, which is what we've been doing in stream. Like it's honestly like not worth it to play this game. So to become really, really good at it, because I mean, unless if you really like the game that much, absolutely go nuts. It is great for, like, you know, as a free MOBA, you know, and getting skins, like it has rewards like that, you know, but it is the same game over and over again, doing the same things, and very similar to League in that regard, where you're constantly on very similar maps, almost exactly the same maps, and your strategies are almost always the same. The best thing you can do is just get better with another character, and you'll have all these characters under your belt to qualify for the tournament that is $400,000 for your entire team. Yeah, so I mean, so yeah, I guess the verdict is maybe. Like, it's worth trying. See if it's interesting for you. The fact that it's a free game is what makes it enticing for players to actually try out and become acquainted with MOBAs. And if you like this, maybe this is your stepping off point to go and play Overwatch and get better in that, because the tournaments for that are bigger. And so this could be your training grounds to see if you'd even like to try that. And then if you like that, go ahead and pick up a copy of Overwatch and start getting better at that. But whenever it comes down to this, like, this game isn't really going anywhere. Like, it's not heading upwards, but it's not exactly going backwards either. Like, people are still playing it. There is still a decent community to it, and I mean, you'll still see that kind of like, as a streamer, if I'm looking at other streamers, like you can play this on stream and get a couple people who might be interested. It does far better on Mixer than it does on Twitch, in my opinion, but I think that a lot of that has to do with the viewership from the Paladins channel coming over to that. So to tie it up, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. If you have not already, make sure you do hit the bell for notifications, as well as subscribe. There's always content that goes out. We're trying to do 2 videos a week, one for the Silver Suggests and one for the first 30, which is the first 30 minutes of every game, of a gameplay of a game which I've never played before in my life. And we're going to start doing more of those live on Twitch, as I do stream, like I said at the beginning, every Monday, Tuesday, and Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's twitch.tv/silverdeath_gaming. Check that out, and all my social media in the links below in the description. And as well, check out one of these 2 videos. And thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.